4. Sparkle Unicorn. Kyle pulled the curtains aside and gave a sharp wave to someone standing in the street below. "Car's here," he announced. I did a final spin on my heel, making him laugh, and then followed him out into the cold night air. Fall in New York is unlike fall anywhere else, I'll tell you. A must-do experience highly recommended. It was dark out, so the trees along the park were black shadows and not the explosion of colors they were in the daylight, but the air smelled crisp and crackled with excitement. Summer got too hot and summer evenings have a lazy feel, but the roaring 20s really lived up to their name. In September and October, warm enough to be outside, but not too hot to melt into the sidewalk. We hopped into Kyle's car, and we whisked downtown, and there was a new speakeasy opening that night, full of swells and, as Kyle put it, opportunities to connect. I knew what he meant. Only to took one of those upscale parties of his to get it. See? Opportunities to connect. It's just talking. It's just getting to know a person, making them like you. Being the likable person I am, and someone who enjoys a good conversation. I was quick to realize this. All people really want is to feel comfortable, to feel like they were on a good hands during the conversation. "Sparkle Unicorn," said Kyle to the man behind the dark window. We were standing on the scummy-looking street in the meatpacking district. Not a place I ever expected to see the likes of Kyle or his chums, but I learned that was part of the fun for them. It was the real danger. It was safe danger. Passwords, pretty people, pay-up police. You could feel the wrong while not being particularly bad. They really thought they were, though. It was their own personal illusion, a fine make-believe to make their lives more fine. The door opened with a heavy clang to the rush. Dark viewer, adorable coat-check girl in sparkling black took our hats and jackets. Kyle tossed her a coin. She pocketed it briefly with a wink. Gotta say, I do love me a wink. The next door was open, and the room was flooded with music. Jazz. I can't quite describe what jazz meant to us then. How new and exciting it was. The kind of music which your parents will hate, so you love it even more. The room was all silver, mirrors everywhere, a mirrored dance floor, even, sparkling crystal chandeliers. It made me seem like a room was 10 times fuller than it was, and even without the illusion, it was full. Men with tuxedos, bow ties undone, women in their short just below the knee dresses, short hair to match, dripping in long necklaces in French. Everything dripped, and something about dripping is just so darn luxurious. So long as it's not coming for the pipes, no one trusts a drip from a pipe. "Kyle, you made it!" A small blonde came bouncing up to us and kissed Kyle's cheek ferociously. "Told you I would." He picked her up and twirled her in the circle. It was a good move, I noted to myself. "This is my friend Joey. He's going to be a big deal very soon." It was a good introduction, but not perfect. He didn't say why it was doing to be a big deal, and I noted that too. People said a lot, and what they don't say. While Kyle had always enjoyed my company, I was pretty sure he didn't hold much faith in my business sense. I didn't like the feeling. "Well, big deal, Joey. It's a pleasure to meet you," she said brightly. I stuck out my hand, and she grabbed me and planted a cherry lip kiss on my cheek, too. "I'm gladsies." I shook my head. "No, you're not," I said with a smile. Her mouth flied open in mock shock, though I could tell she was actually surprised. "I'm not?" "No," I said, taking her hand and kissing it. "Tonight you are Selene, goddess of the moon." Oh, how she laughed at that, and immediately took on the role, and she took a little bow and then dragged Kyle out to the dance floor. With one little invented idea. She had become a goddess in reality, I smiled. I was good. Now that cannot be Joseph Drew. And a familiar voice behind me. I spun around that well-made heel again, and there was Nathan Arch, standing there, smiling at me. That was good old boy, who worked side by side with me in the lab till he'd been shifted out. I never really got to know him well, but I always liked his personality. I heard, though, that Grapevine he was doing pretty well as a businessman these days. He's definitely looked the part with his finely tailored suit, perfectly skilled black hair, and elegant mustache. Can't acknowledge the compliment here. I remember this night well. I remember being in the B room. Gold and black, not silver as the main design aesthetic. Doesn't really make much a difference though, I suppose. Nathan! Well, all of so's and so's, I replied when shook his hand warmly. See now, I always knew you'd end up well. Look at yourself. I didn't need to. I knew how good I looked. He pointed at my shoes, a long way from my army boots. I smiled but changed the subject. The past was the past and dwelling on it. There was never any point. I was and have always been the man of the future. Hearing the business is going well, I said. Well, they said you're doing to point your money in something, then it should be something people need as much as money. Deal might not be romantic or innovative, but it's solid, Joseph. Ha! That it is. Nathan smiled and placed whiskey in my hand. Had no idea where he found it, but I was glad to have it. Joey now, Nathan, I said, taking the swing. Been on the rocks. Delicious. How I managed to get into New York City during the time of Prohibition, I still to this day don't know, but I'll tell you one thing, since my bar has never been without the bottle of the stuff. And you can call me Nate. It's all about reservation, isn't it? He smiled proudly down his drink with one glove. Let's dance. There's some mighty fine dolls out on the floor tonight. I nodded and indicated it'll be right with him. As I finished the drink, I returned the glass to the mirror-backed bar and gave the bartender a nod as he took it from me. I glazed at myself. I looked sharp in my tuxedo, and I looked right. Joey and Nate. I shook my head at my reflection. How wrong he was. It was reinvention. It was who I've always been. Here, in that moment, in that suit, in this tie, in these shoes, these dancing shoes. I was Joey Drew, and Joey Drew was here to stay. I made my way to the mirror door, and boy oh boy, did I dance.